Everybody, welcome to Cali Girl Blog Talk. I'm Callie. Thank you for joining me. And today I'll be reviewing Love and Marriage in Huntsville, Season 5, Episode 6, We Need a Resolution. So we start off the episode, I guess it's the day or days after the fight that took place in Madani, and we see Tiffany. She pulls up with some lemonade for her and Destiny. She's coming after the fact, and we know she's coming there to get the tea. So after apologizing for not being able to make it, both her and Lewis, she says, so what's been going on here? As if she don't already know. Look at the line of questioning. Okay, what's been going on here? Anyway, Destiny says, well, regarding the launch, there were definitely people who showed up that were not invited. Stormy was one of them. She showed up with flowers and a Gucci box, and Tiffany was like, okay, that's not a good friend, right? Destiny said, that's a great gesture, right? It's a good gesture. Tiffany said, yes, Stephanie, good gracious. Stormy also sent me flowers and a box of hair care products. So it looks like, she's trying to extend olive branches where maybe the conversations went awry. And Destiny says Stormy did pull her to the side and said, hey, I would like for us to meet up, and have a real conversation. And Destiny's like, if I can get my mental together, and if I feel that it's genuine, then I will say okay. But at this time, I don't know. She then proceeded to explain that Mel showed up, walked in, and didn't speak. I guess she still has not had a chance to see the tape. Although Mel didn't go out of her way to walk directly into Destiny's face and say, hello, Destiny. She did speak when she walked in. Tiffany said, she walked into your event and didn't speak. Destiny said, she says she spoke, but I didn't hear, so obviously it wasn't good enough for me. Okay. She said she was in there for a minute, then she walked out. And when she walked out, I told her, when you come to somebody's establishment, the least you can do is speak. She said she spoke, and I said, well, I didn't hear her. She said, and then she said, girl. She said, girl, that word that we don't use. I'm like, what is wrong with girl? Like, I say girl all the time. Girl, hey, girl. What is wrong with girl? Ooh, she is too temperamental for me. She said, Mel said, girl, you looking for a moment. She said, I am the moment. It's my place. You had a moment. The whole day was a moment, but you were not a moment, at least not from what we saw in the last episode. And then Destiny, said that after their little, back and forth, Mel went over to Miss Wanda, little tent set up with all her food. And they got into it about, what Miss Wanda said and what Mel said as far as, Tisha's father being her DMs or whatever, and how Wanda was, making claims that Martell is not Sugar Mama's father. And Destiny trying to say it like she's loosely saying it like she don't know that this woman has been online, saying that Sugar Mama may or may not be Martell's, and therefore there needs to be a paternity test. Like, don't act like that would be a problem if somebody was saying that about your child. It would be a problem. So don't try to loosely say that, oh, I don't know, it was something about. Girl, you know exactly what it was about, and you're on this show, so you know how it goes down. Quit playing. Tiffany gonna say, well, how come, basically they weren't making this about you? Destiny said, because it was about Mel and whatever she, had going on. And Tiffany was like, well, I've been told that I had to work on timing. So she's making reference, I guess, to the couples trip, the couples therapy that they had. And the doctor, was giving her and Lewis advice, therapeutic advice or what have you. And, she really got a chip on her shoulder about that. Like, girl, you are not perfect. You're not perfect. And Tiffany adding fuel to the fire like she always does, and says, oh, so you weren't invited to an event, but you show up basically and you clowning, and Destiny said, yeah, if you have something you want to get off your chest, don't do it at somebody else's event. Do that on your own time. If you're not going to show up to support, why show up at all? Because you obviously didn't show up to support because you didn't say anything. Now, I can see how she has that perspective, because anybody that's showing up to support, they usually will say something to you directly, say something to the person that they are supporting, not just hello and, keep on passing by. You know what I mean? Tiffany said, well, do you think all of this has tarnished the shop's reputation? Destiny was like, I don't know. I really don't know, because it's early, it's fresh, whatever. And, Tiffany was just saying, it's unfortunate that we can't all come together and celebrate each other or whatever. And Destiny said, well, I got apologies from everybody except for the one person who caused it all. Well, don't act like you didn't play a role when you chased her out the door. You wanted smoke, Destiny, and you got some. So next we see Kimmy Maurice at their house, and Tisha stops by. Tisha said, in her confessional that Kimmy and Maurice, they called them and asked them to come over, and sort of talk about things that happened or whatever at Madani. She showed up, but she said that she doesn't know if Marceau is going to show because they had a big fight the night before. Kimmy said, did y'all talk about it? And Tisha said, yes, we did. And he got mad at her and said, in a situation like the one that happened, that she should just be quiet and listen to him. From what I remember, she said a little something, but she didn't set it off. Marceau, you started that altercation with Martell. She said she told him, who you talking to? That's disrespectful because I had nothing to do with all of that happened yesterday. And she looked at Maurice and she said, you need to talk to your brother. I really wish you would talk to him because I'm getting fed up for real about how he's talking to me. Maurice is nodding his head like he understands. In their confessional with Kimmy and Maurice, he said, yeah, we can talk to Marceau. I mean, we can talk to him, but more times than not, talking to Marceau is like talking to yourself. I couldn't even imagine not being heard, but living with that person for the rest of my life? No, it's a no for me. So in comes Marceau. He shows up. And Kimmy and Maurice asked Marceau, so what was your take? What is your take on what happened at Madani? And Marceau said, well, the tension was just building up basically for people who weren't going to fight their own battles, whatever that means. And therefore, the people who were most likely to protect those who are not going to stand up for themselves were out on the front lines. I said to myself, what does that have to do with you chasing down Martell, yelling all, barking all, in his ear? Ain't nobody he turned around like, hey, bro, hold up. What is you doing? Like Martell tried to walk away. What are you doing? You too hype. Calm down. What is this about? You all up on me. You on my back? What's going on? He did say, but him and Martell were able to squash their beef because, they don't have an issue with each other and they were able to squash it quickly. I'm glad they were able to do that because it was really unnecessary. But the tensions were high and, unnecessary things happen when the tensions are high. It's a lot going on. He said in his confessional that him and Martell, they spoke the previous evening and they were able to have a logical conversation and they both came to the understanding that, what, they're going to protect their family regardless, but what they don't want is for their family to get involved in unnecessary beef, basically, because then they got to show up, and protect them from harm's way. Kimmy said, well, if this happens, seem like every year or so. You think this over? You think it's gone? And Marceau said, no, it's not gone. And when I walked out and I saw Mel and Wanda in each other's faces, I knew that neither one of them was going to back down. Well, you're right about that. He said, and when you have two people that are not going back down and you got all these people around you who care about both parties, if somebody throws a blow, other parties might get involved, right? Kimmy said, well, what's the fix? And Marceau said, well, if Wanda can't control herself, she can't be a part of my life. Maurice said, but you do realize at the end of the day, Wanda is going to be connected to Tisha regardless. Right. Wanda ain't going nowhere if Tisha is around. Only Tisha's going to make that decision. Kimmy and Tisha go inside. And so Maurice and Marceau stays out. And Marceau was like, I'm not putting myself in a situation like that again. Meanwhile, Kimmy and Tisha are in the house and Kimmy is, trying to give her perspective on what she believes Marceau is saying. And that is, I think we're all getting to a place where we really don't know what to do, honestly, because Wanda is your mom. Kimmy said Marceau is probably in the toughest position out of everybody because Tisha is his wife and he's going to protect her. Tisha said, well, last night when we were talking, basically the way you're trying to explain it, Kimmy, no, that's not how he was giving it to me. She said, when we were talking about it, he was telling her, you don't need to say nothing. You just need to be silent. He said, you don't have a voice in a situation like that. And she said, she was like, wait a minute now. You can't just tell me that I don't have no voice. She said that hurt her feelings. And he's a business person. He knows how to talk to everybody, but don't be disrespectful to her. She's crying a little bit. She said, because she's not a slave. In her confessional, she said, I understand that Marceau wants to protect me and things like that, but he needs to let me be me. She said she wasn't going to fight nobody for real. She got too much to lose. But, basically, she's not an object, honey. She's a person, a whole human being with a whole voice. Now you can protect me. I'm all but don't tell me that I don't have a voice and I just need to be silent. Who you talking to? No. Kimmy and Tisha make their way back outside. Marcel's ready to move on. He's like, look, I'm ready to get back to boss business. Marcel said, he was looking at the Madani suites when they were there, and he wants to move forward on the project. Maurice said, what's your take on it, Tisha? Tisha said, I prefer after she clears her throat, to get her voice. She said, I honestly don't want to work with Martell. I prefer not to work with Martell. She said, when she keeps getting the same signs from somebody, you can't keep missing those signs, or ignoring the signs. And I'm like, but wait a minute. No, in this situation, Martell wasn't out of line. Your husband was, period. You have to lay the blame where it belongs. And this time it wasn't with Martell, in my opinion. Anyway, she said, I don't want to work with him, but obviously Marceau does. Is that what you're saying? And he was like, well, no, I'm not going to step outside of my household and work with somebody that my wife, the president of the company, doesn't want to work with. So next we see Martell. He stops over Mel's house, checking up on her, making sure she good, and she thanked him. She said she appreciates him coming by, to check up on her. And she appreciates, how he stepped up at Madani. Mel said, yesterday was a lot, and when I got there, I walked in, I spoke to Destiny and Kimmy, and Martell said, Destiny said you didn't speak to her. She said, I did speak to her. She said, I don't know why she's saying I didn't speak to her. I'm starting to feel like she just lies, like she be lying. He said, so you did speak to her? She said, yes. They rolled the tape back. Well, she said, hi, Destiny. Now, the eye contact wasn't long. Again, Mel didn't walk directly in front of Destiny and say, hello, Destiny. She said it in passing, but she said it. So she's recapping, saying, and after I stayed for a while, I walked out. That's when you saw Destiny, kind of chasing her, basically saying, next time you come to my place, you could speak to me, or you better speak to me. However, she's recanting the story, right? She said, so she saw Wanda. You know how I am. I can still be cool, calm, and collected and say what I need to say. She said, but Wanda walked around the table. And Martell said she did say, let me walk around this table. And she did. Mel said, and I was like, okay, basically you can walk around the table. It's cool. I'm still good, right? Because I'm not worried about nothing. Now, voices were turned a little bit. The octaves were a little high. Wasn't everybody talking like, well, no, the octaves were up there. Mel said, and they can be, but keep your hands to your sides. Don't put them in my face, whatever you do with them, right? Mel said, Wanda started pointing directly all in her face. She said, and she guessed Wanda didn't think that she was going to, give her back what she was giving her, and basically pointing in her face as well. She said, so you pointing all in my face talking to me? Well, I'm pointing in your face talking to you. Woman to woman. This ain't no little girl to elder situation. Wanda was a teen mom. She's not that old in comparison to Mel. Melody let Martell know she had his back. She said, because then after that, she saw him over there talking to Maurice and Marceau. She said, so I'm finna go stand behind his back because it's not just supposed to be Marceau and Maurice. I said, okay, Holt and Holt. And Mel said, so while I'm standing behind you, I guess that's how I missed Wanda, bypassing and trying to swing on Mel. She's lunging at Mel, basically. And Martell was like, he said he just felt somebody go past his back, real fast. And he said he just turned around and was like, I'm about to hit somebody. He didn't know that it was Wanda. I guess he thought somebody was running up on him, and off instinct, he turned around in protection mode or self-defense mode. She said, and I appreciate you, stepping in or whatever, and he was like, oh yeah, for sure. I'm not going to let nobody hit you. At the end of the day, we got those 4 kids. We family, no matter what we go through. He said, I'm not going to let no harm come your way. And she said, vice versa, period. Now, I'm going to say, I do like this. It looks nice on camera. I do like their camaraderie, in this scene. She then said, and Maurice always jumps in Marcel's fights. What's up with that? Martell said, I don't get it. And Mel said, because that was Marceau saying, let's do it right now. We could do it right here. And she said, was that Marceau? And Martell said, I don't remember. I just remember that, Marceau was talking smart and he was just talking like it's whatever. Martell said, I was trying to explain to him, hey, look, if somebody says something about the kids, regardless of what it is, they're talking about the kids, he said, and Marceau just didn't agree with that. Let it have been his kids. He said, because Miss Wanda, she talks too dirty. She hits below the belt. She's very toxic, but we have seen time and time again where Tisha don't say nothing about her mother's mouth and how she speaks to certain people within the group, whether it be Kimmy or whether it be Mel or whoever. She just stands there and says, my mom, I can't control my mom. I can't control my mom. We've been hearing that season after season. He said, when you talk about kids, that's below the belt. Like that's too much. And Mel said, I think Saturday was bound to happen. You know, you keep poking and poking and poking, and the person only can ignore it so much. And that's true. You know, it's going to happen. It may not happen at what some may consider the right time or what have you. But after build up, sometimes when they see you, it just happens. And if the conversation is not logical and the person that is the offender is talking reckless, well, situations like what happened at Madani, things like that can happen. Timing is not everything in those cases. Martell then says he would like for everybody to come together, with the exception of Wanda, the group, the 6 of them, to come together, maybe have a dinner, you know, and talk so they can at least be cordial. Mel is with it. She said, you know, she thinks the absence of Wanda will calm a lot of things down to help them be able to move forward into a better space. Martell wants to be more optimistic. Mel has her reservation. She's like, you know what? A lot has happened. A lot has transpired, and it may be too much for us to come back. He's like, I think it's possible. She's like, I don't know. It may not be possible. So next we see Tiffany. She stops by Stormy's house. Stormy says she invited her over. Girl, Stormy house looks like it is full of peace, okay? Her land, it looks almost like farmland, okay? She has horses. The space is humongous for you to pull your car up on, dogs to run around on, again, horses to gallop on. Child, I'd take it. So Tiffany said, yeah, I met with Destiny and I got her side, but it's always her side. But you didn't meet with Mel to get her side. Stormy was just standing around. So you want to get Stormy's side. Then you gonna get Mel's side? Tiffany. Ugh. Tiffany said, well, she said that once Mel was done with her, she beelined to Wanda. And Stormy said, done with her? What does that mean? Tiffany was like, I don't know. See, that's what I don't like. Both her and Destiny, they play, you know, they play telephone, you know, they want to carry the bone, but they carry the bone like they are sort of oblivious to what they're carrying. Oh, girl, I don't know. It was something like, I don't know, girl. Don't ask me. I don't know. But you bring in the message. So you do know. Stormy said, I saw Mel walk out and I saw Destiny run and yell behind her. And now Tiffany's turning her head like, what? Like, ugh, say it ain't so. Stormy said, to me, it didn't seem like it was any animosity. And Tiffany is giving a look like, really? I don't know about all that, really. You weren't there. You weren't there. Just like Martell told Marceau last episode when Marceau said, well, I didn't know that. And Martell says, then why are you talking about it? Same thing, Tiffany. What's up with all the facial expressions? You want to get all everybody else's tea, but you couldn't take your own tea at that counseling session 2 episodes ago. Y'all had to skirt and leave because you couldn't take it. Stormy said, now I wasn't over there. She said, I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what kicked it off. I didn't hear it. She said, but I never seen somebody do what Miss Wanda did. She said she ran from behind the car and trying to hit Mel from behind. They rolled the tape back and showed Miss Wanda was out here in beast mode. She was going to try to sneak Mel from behind. Now, where they do that at? Everywhere. Tiffany said, I just don't know how they can believe that this was okay. And Tiffany said, I asked Destiny, you know, how did she think that this would hinder her reputation? And Stormy is looking like, girl, what? And then Stormy said, well, it's better than not being open. Because that's the most action that her store has gotten in a while. So she should have took it and ran with it. In her confessional, Stormy said, I'm a firm believer that you always turn a negative into a positive. There's no such thing as bad press. Girl, it may not be bad press, but what you threw was slick shade. Then she busted out laughing and said, I mean, so that day Madani was getting far more attention than it's ever gotten. And then she can't control herself. She starts laughing and apologizing at the same time. Girl. Stormy switches subjects and says, but hey, on another note, I'm doing a commercial and I would like to know if you will be in it. Of course, Tiffany accepts. So next we see Martell. He stops by his friend, Chris Fletcher's office. And although he's currently in his home, he wants a new house. So he's, you know, working with Chris and he wants him to help him find a new house since Chris helped him find the home that he's currently in. Chris was like, so how is everything going, with you, Mel, the Eminem kids? How's everything going? Martell's like, it's going good. And Chris said, oh, okay, cool, cool. Did it have anything to do with that coming together at Madani? He said, because it sounded like it was Team Holt and Hope. It was. Martell said, we had each other's back 100%. He said, and then, Marceau's mouth, like, chill out with your mouth. Chris said, well, what about the business, y'all? You guys were just talking about, working together again. Now, what's up with that? Is it a sticky situation? And Martell said, it's definitely a sticky spot. Martell said, I would like to move forward, but Marceau and we won't be working together. In his confessional, he said, although him and Marceau talked about everything right after the situation happened, I guess the same evening, he said he's still bothered that it happened in the first place because, again, this was about the kids, and Marceau acted like he didn't understand that. And then for him to come at him, like he want to fight him and everything, and he's bothered by that. So next we see Stormy. She's at her warehouse, Canvas Beauty Warehouse, and she invites Destiny over, and Destiny accepts the invitation. So she arrives. So they go in her office, Stormy's office, and you can see a slight bit of reservation. I don't know if it's nervousness, but it's definitely a feeling of uncertainty. You can see that on Destiny's face. Her guard is definitely up. Destiny said, I've been wanting us to get together and talk since the last time I saw you, which was at your shop. She said, and when I walked in, I felt dismissed. She said, I appreciate how you came because you came correct. Other people did not. Okay, so she's talking to Stormy, but she's making reference to Mel. Okay. She said, I know when I'm not in a good space, I know that if I do say something, it's not going to be good. And I wasn't receptive to you, so that's why I wasn't saying anything. She said, and I was like, ain't no way in hell I'm wearing this purse. And Stormy said, oh, really? Like... Is that right? She said, I would have rathered you buy me some Canvas beauty products instead of a Gucci bag. And Stormy is looking like, okay, I messed up again. Good gracious. I can't win for losing with this one here. Jeez. Picking up on something, Stormy said, okay, let me enlighten you. Let me explain something to you. My dream was always to be in retail. And you, Destiny, reached out to me right when I was in the middle of going with a distributor. And I wasn't in a position to even make a decision to say yes or no. She said, and when I was in a position to say yes and saying, hey, I want you guys to talk to somebody, meaning somebody is Destiny, they was like, hey, you are about to be working with a broker and a distributor. Now is not the right time. So it wasn't that. Basically, she was trying to be shady towards Destiny. She said it wasn't on the top of her mind. And she also wasn't in a position where she could do that. That was the business advice that she was given, like, hey, not right now. And I can see that. It's like she ain't even got her feet in the door, or she just got them in the door and she already like, hey, look at this one over here. They are looking at you right now. So get your feet in the door, get your feet wet, get yourself established with the broker and the distributor. Y'all have a good business relationship and then present someone. Destiny's response was, it is what it is at this point. She just spoke business to you and you couldn't give a business response, like business owner to business owner. So you just said, it is what it is. I'm gonna always support Black businesses regardless. Okay. Stormy said, so going forward, if we have our issues, but not based on anybody else. And she brings up again that even Mel said, we don't have any issues. She said, even the friend that we have in common says, hey, y'all don't have no issues. And Destiny was like, I don't know about having a friend in common. In her confessional, she said, Stormy may believe that her and Mel are friends, but she can't speak for me. She said, hearing Destiny's side of the story, I'm still not understanding what the issue is. She said, so on that, I feel like we're just going to have to agree to disagree, and we're just going to keep our situation moving forward in a positive way. So next, we're at the Black Lounge with Marceau and Tisha, and none other than Funky Dineva shows up. Okay. And we know this is about to be interesting. And they glad to see him. In the confessional, Marceau said, look who walked in. Q, Quinn Latham, we glad to see him. Tisha like, I don't know, child. She said, well, I'm nervous to hear about why he's here. He's here to see y'all, girl. Marceau said, yeah, here in Huntsville, we chill. And Funky Dineva said, I beg to differ. And he got right into that Funky Dineva voice, said, I don't mean to start no mess. Tisha uncomfortable. She like, oh no, here we go. The point of him being here. She laughing, but not on the inside. He said, now I'm about to get in Funky Dineva mode. And I was minding my business like I always do. And I was on social media and I'm like, wait a minute, did y'all get to tussling in the parking lot? He's describing what he saw, glimpses, and he said, and they saying, Tisha, you was in it, your messy mama was in it, your mama started it. Folks was talking about people, kids. What happened? Tisha said, well, I was inside of Destiny's shop, but what she was told was that Mel went and confronted Wanda about the live that Wanda did. Marceau jumps in and says, Mel and Wanda were outside. Martell kind of gets in the middle. He's holding back Mel, and Tisha is holding back Miss Wanda. And Marceau said he was like, no, Tisha, like, get out of it, like, separate yourself. Funky Dineva said, and that's what women don't understand, is that you guys put men in dangerous situations when you guys get to doing that, back and forth and being catty and stuff. So women can never get into it because they got to worry about the men being placed in dangerous situations. I mean, some things just happen. I mean, what do you expect there to be? Never confrontation. Confrontation, first of all, doesn't always have to be negative. People assume that confrontation is automatically negative. It doesn't have to be, and it certainly doesn't have to get as far as it did get. So what are you suggesting, that Mel don't say nothing and just let Wanda keep doing what she's doing? Like, who's really at fault? Funky Dineva said, it feels like from the outside looking in that, Tisha, your mama fights a lot of your battles. And it feels like that you're complicit in your silence. Tisha said, that's not true. That's not true. Funky Dineva said, but that's what it feels like. Tisha said, I understand that because you're watching it, you're watching a show, but, in real life, I don't like to fuss and fight. I don't like to argue. I don't like to talk loud to my mom, but I'm very direct when I talk to my mom, but she doesn't listen. I've told her several times, you don't have to get in the middle of the situation. The thing is, though, when you have the opportunity to correct what your mom is doing, you don't say anything. So all these private conversations doesn't matter. You need to talk to your mom when she's in the middle of doing what she's doing. You can't just stand there and stand around and make excuses and be like, but you said something about my father. You said he was in secret, because now you're justifying what your mom is doing. So it makes no sense to say that privately you talk to your mom, because it's not effective. You got to talk to your mom in the moment. You got to calm her down in the moment. Stop it in the moment. After the fact don't matter, obviously. She said, my mom feels like because I don't handle situations the way that she believes I should handle them, then she feels like she has to step in. Funky Dineva said, but because your mom is causing you so many problems in your personal life, at one point do you step in and say, Mom, you can't come around no more? Tisha is silent for a moment. She don't know what to say. And in that moment, Marceau says, I know you better not agree with him, because I done said this to you 1,000 times. She said, well, to me, it's a level of respect. Funky Dineva said, you cannot be blinded by that honor thy mother, that old Southern honor thy mother and cherish thy father. A lot of parents still try to hold on to those ways, and and you were just supposed to be like, well, that's just how they are. Well, that's just what they do. No, honey, people know full well that they are being disrespectful, and they want to hold up the banner of, well, I'm the mama and you got to respect me, but you're being disrespectful willingly, and I'm supposed to accept that just because? She said, but that's how I was raised. And he said, but I understand that, but just because we were raised that way, every way we were raised doesn't mean it was right. And because we are educated and it's 2022, it's time for us to chew the meat and spit out the bone. He said, we got to take the parts of our upbringing that was right and take the part that wasn't and reject it. She said, well, what advice can you give me? Because I'm not with my mom, 24 hours a day. He said, tell your mom to shut up and stay about your business. And if you can't, then you can't come around here no more. He said, you got to do that. And she looks from him and looks directly at Marceau. She's in a tough place. I understand. But we got to grow up and make decisions, even the tough ones that involves family and close-knit familiar relationships. Anyway, and the episode ends. It was good. All right, y'all. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell button. And until next time, you all take care. Have a blessed day. Peace.